Welcome to Seen and Heard podcast, where everyone should be seen and heard. Hello, Charles. We're doing a late night. We're gonna have to try to keep it under 30 minutes because of like my editing. So if we'll come back and do a part two if we're looking at going over. But I wanted to open up. We're going to talk about the TikTok ban, which I think is going to be a huge miscalculation. If anything, all social media platforms have issues. They have problems with the selling everybody's data, security, and things like that. But um, Mark Zuckerberg, Fox News especially, is a security issue for this country. Fox News is poisoning our news ecosystem. The Twitter is unregulated now. It's like a Nazi-friendly platform, and a lot of people that want to do serious advocacy, charity work, um, protesting, learning, and things like that. They don't have a platform except for TikTok. I mean, and you hear it from their own mouths. So I'm going to play this first video, and then Charles, I'm going to get your comments on the other side of this video.
It's easy to think TikTok is a silly app and banning it wouldn't do much harm. But banning TikTok undermines our fundamental constitutional right to freedom of expression, and we stand to lose a lot from such a major social platform being taken away from us. TikTok has made it easier and more accessible for people to learn about what's happening in the world, and it's allowed primary source news to reach a large audience before being covered by larger media outlets. In fact, Pew Research found about a quarter of US adults under the age 30 regularly get news from TikTok. As this user points out, TikTok's been used by marginalized communities to create change. Young voters look to informative TikToks to know how to register to vote, how to get an absentee ballot, and where to go to find out more information on the candidates on their ballot. Users have access to a world of information and perspectives we never would have otherwise seen. TikTok isn't just videos teaching you how to cook or showing the latest viral dance, though those are important too. It facilitates the democratization of ideas and allows us to participate and learn about the world around us in a new and meaningful way. Banning our right to use TikTok would be harmful to us all, and Congress's bill just passed out of committee and will very soon be going to the House for a vote. The time to be loud about the importance of this app is now. Follow along for more updates.
I don't know how y'all feel about it, but I personally think that the Biden administration is drastically underestimating the damage it's going to do to their campaign if they ban TikTok. Gen Z are basically drug-sniffing dogs when it comes to bullshit, and they're definitely not going to buy the line that we're being protected. If we were being protected in any way, then someone would have at least mentioned banning Facebook after it was used for Russian propaganda and almost destroyed our country. No one buys it. I mean, no one in my generation buys it either, but I'm just saying he's going to lose some Gen Z support if he doesn't. Not to mention the fact that no one is actually going to stop using TikTok. People are just going to download VPNs and continue using TikTok. There's already 100 million Americans on TikTok, and you can't go into someone's private phone and remove apps. That's not how life works. So, with that being said, I have some homework for us. So you can either go to their website, fill out the contact form, and leave them a message, or you can call. Both the number and the website are listed here. I personally just said exactly what I told you. I think it will be terrible for his campaign, and no one believes it. No one believes that this has anything to do with protecting us from China. Not one single person. In any case, I think our other weekend homework is to get a VPN set up so that we don't have to worry about it.
On TikTok, on an average of 90 minutes a day, this is an issue.
So, we're doing this bullshit again, huh? Okay, let's get it. The fact that you dick things in DC think banning TikTok is a national priority over every other thing going on in this country is fucking laughable. We have over 300,000 people homeless in America. But hey, banning TikTok is a bipartisan deal that all of you dick things will do. Cost of living is out of control. But hey, it's not a problem because you dickheads only care about banning a fucking app. Now, you guys want to ban this app under the guise of national security. When in reality, it's because this is probably one of the only apps we can call all you idiots out without worrying about the news being distorted. People spend the majority of their time on TikTok simply because the real world is fucked up thanks to you idiots. We will gladly ban TikTok ourselves once you idiots start doing the job we actually elected you to do in the first fucking place. But hey, it's whatever. Follow me on Instagram, you fucking weirdo.
With this, 100 million Americans daily on TikTok on an average of 90 minutes a day, this is an issue. I imagine most of you would like your networks to get 90 minutes a day from 100 million Americans. We've got to make sure that we take care of that national security based concern.
message to Senator Mark Warner and all these other um, politicians that think if they yank TikTok away, that people are going to go back. The youth are not going back to Facebook. I'm not going back to like watching mainstream TV because also Netflix, all these mediums are lobbying these politicians to yank TikTok because of what he said, the time that people and the users that TikTok has. Never mind that it's free. So Netflix messed themselves up by messing with these subscriptions and not sharing. People like the sharing part, and then they get rid of their shows that people liked, and so they're messing themselves up. And a lot of those people are not going back. You know, they're not going back to those mainstream platforms, regardless. So
Right. The cat's out of the bag. The genie's out of the bottle. The tube's out of the toothpaste. It's broken now. They don't have any credibility. And I want to point out, first of all, she was saying nobody believes that this is about national security. What I'm saying is it's not a question of whether people believe it or not. There's no argument because the servers were bought by Oracle. But this has almost been a year now. So what I think it is what's so hilarious about this, and this goes back to our last show about the emperor wears no clothes,
mhm,
right? This was written back when it was still owned by China,
mhm.
and the wheels continue to move. Oracle stepped in and bought it to save TikTok, but the staffers that wrote it are still functioning on some. The lawyers and staffers are working on verbiage from when it was still China, so they can't pivot that quickly and make this not about national security anymore.
Mhm.
So it's become one of those very Orwellian circumstances where they're like, "This is a national security issue." Oh yeah, that changed a while ago. Yeah, it's a national security issue.
Fox News.
It's Animal
That's,
Farm. It's 1984. Well, this is worse than Fox News.
I
At
mean,
least with Fox News, there's some sort of purported logic. They'll at least pretend like it's about something. But at this point, this legislation is not even relevant to the current circumstances. Can you hear me?
so yeah, I can hear you. So you honestly think Fox News is a safe entity? Like people that watch Fox News organized by watching Fox News, listening to Fox News, and attacked our Capitol. People that hang out
Yeah,
on TikTok and organize for protests and organize the youth to vote and organize, to feed homeless people, and get news about the train wreck before mainstream news people talked about it.
yeah.
People got
So
the news off of
absolutely.
TikTok
So
first.
oh, absolutely, yeah. So firstly, again, I think that's worded wrong. The idea that we don't believe it, nobody believes it. It should more clearly be stated. It's it's irrelevant. There's no purpose to this national security argument because it's literally not even over there anymore. So
Right.
we are in an Orwellian circumstance where we're supposed to, if you have a master's degree and you work at New York Times, you're supposed to wink and say, well, authorities say
Mm,
that this is, you're not allowed to say this was written at a time when it was still about China, but we're still going to pretend like what they're
mhm,
talking about relates to the world outside. So that's the first point.
mhm,
Secondly, I think what needs to be expanded upon here is that what she's saying is this is where primarily more younger people get what we need to talk about is that this is a generational war. Okay,
mhm,
let's remember that the Fox News generation, the baby boomers, and the silent generation have been robbing us for decades. They
mhm,
have ensured policy that has propagated the largest generational theft from poor people to their pockets now, okay, for decades.
mhm.
So it's important that they shut us down. Now, this is not something that's well understood, but you can go look at the work done by, Richard Wolff and even Robert Reich talks about this stuff,
I
where
like
there's
it.
been a gigantic transfer of wealth from young people to older people, and that's done by policies, things that relate to certain kinds of taxes versus others, etc. And it's through this policy that this generation has been pilfering from us. And so then just to say this is about banning TikTok, the discussion has to go even deeper.
Speaking of wealth transfer, as of today, that's a great segue into this conversation about the Silicon Valley Bank. The CEO sold off 3.6 million of company stock under a trading plan less than 2 weeks before the firm disclosed extensive losses that led to its failure today, where the FDIC had to go in and shut it down. So people that got usually get their paychecks on Friday didn't get their checks today. It's like a whole big mess. The Dow crash, not that that really matters to a lot, us because we're not invested in that. But I
Well,
had a
it does affect us though, because yes, our money is not in it, but it affects the economy, and
right,
so it
and the
does affect us. We
taxpayers
are
are going to have to
essentially
bail
losing.
them out. They're
Well,
already
that
talking about a
too,
bailout.
but I'm saying the downturn. No, I understand, but the downturn of the economy, A, plus then later once we have to bail them out, those are two different things.
Mm,
But yes, in both circumstances, once again, it's continuing that wealth transfer. But that's a direct and overt wealth transfer. What I'm talking about is in policy, in tax policy, in economic policy, that it's draining wealth from us.
mm,
So we are transferring, let's say, for example, student loans. That's a massive transfer of wealth from our
mm,
generation to theirs.
mm,
So things like that, they went to school for free
mm,
and it was cheaper. We're doing it through loans and it's 100 times more or 1,000
mm,
times more. Think about it. Just in from my sister to me going to school, we went to the same system of schools, and it increased by 10 times in a few years. So um, there's such a much larger discussion that needs to be happening here about the transfer of wealth from the younger generation, this generational war they're engaging in. And that's why there's so much opposition to, for example, BLM, this idea of rioting. What they
mm,
don't want is direct action. In other words, they don't want us, younger people, showing up with pitchforks to their banks, to their offices, to their golf courses. There's a lot more of us than there are them, and they're going to die soon as well. And that's why, I've been saying for generations, people are like, oh, what do you think we could do? What do you think? We just have to wait until they die. They need to hurry up and die. And it's sad to think that they will
mm.
die before they change.
Well,
I wish it
and
weren't the case.
that's
I
very
wish they
true.
would. I wish they would turn the things around, but they are disgusting, cowardly people,
Yeah.
and they side with the wrong side of history. They will always be remembered as the criminal class. They will be seen as criminally coward. That's why I love that movie Tenet, about how future generations they have a time machine and start waging war on the past.
Mm.
Probably because we destroyed the ecosystem, and future generations are like, "Fuck you guys, we're just gonna wipe you guys out."
Now, speaking of older generation, now your parents are your parents still alive?
My father's passed. They're the baby boomers, yeah,
Okay, okay. So how was it like
and
with
I'm
your
Gen X.
household? Huh? You're Gen X. I'm Gen X.
Yeah, they're just like their generation, classically conservative, raw patriotism. Uh,
Mm,
do everything they tell you to do, believe everything they do. My father took all the dozens of medications his doctors told him to take. He took all the advice that accountants and people, so we lost everything multiple times over. I mean, he was a complete tool,
mm.
complete con, believed everything they said. And his life is a testament to how wrong they are at all times. At every point in history, they were wildly wrong about what the right and correct thing to do is.
And then they if you questioned it, of course, like I said, you and I are the same generation, Gen X. In my household, it was very conservative, very Christian, and it was like the bougie black kind of upbringing, where you have to be the correct kind of upstanding black citizen so that you won't be put in, the category of
Assimilation,
being
right? So
right,
the,
right, right,
the
basically.
right. So immigrants, minorities, the dynamic they always have to survive is the push
Mm,
and pull. It's
mm,
the assimilation or annihilation. You either maintain your independence, your integrity, your dignity, and you get annihilated, or you assimilate to more or less, and so that you can survive. That's the choice given to us. That's what dominance means. That's what status quo means. When you're passive and you're like, oh well, whatever. Oh, you can't change anything.
mm,
It's not that big a deal. We're talking about annihilation. Okay, it is a big deal. If you're too privileged to notice how big of a deal it is for everybody else because you benefit more from the
right.
dominant system, remember, future generations will remember you as disgusting, murderous, genocidal, ecocidal sociopaths.
Hmm.
That's the best thing they're going to say about you. It's going to get worse, trust me, because they're going to live in the world they inherited from you. They will not look upon you kindly.
Nope.
You will be a stain on humanity's history, on humanity's memory.
Now, did you ever feel? Now, this is how
That's
I
what's at
felt.
stake. It's
How
it's as serious as it gets.
how I felt personally was like our generation was like the middle child, where the dynamic with the older sibling and the middle sibling and then the younger sibling. Well, the older sibling got all like a lot of responsibility, and then they got in trouble if the other siblings acted up. The little sibling got all the attention as well, but the middle sibling got ignored, even when they were trying to say something or trying to act out. They still got ignored. Like that's how I feel as my generation, Gen X. I feel like Gen X was the middle child and we were ignored.
Uh, yeah, that was your question. How do I feel about, like, you
Hmm.
feel like Gen X was ignored, this the middle child? Yeah, sure, absolutely. Um, that's why you remember before Gen X, we were called the slacker generation. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Yep. Hmm. Or
We
the
didn't want
get
to do
by
anything. We
generation.
didn't
And yeah.
care.
Hmm.
Yeah, we were slackers. We weren't interested. And it's true. When we came of age, we inherited a world full of brutality, institutional and systematic violence, against the third world, against minorities, against people of color, a world structured with violence, with mass death on all fronts, not just human death. I mean, all death. We inherited a world that had a spastic, orgiastic cult of death, of worshiping exploitation, extraction, and death. And we are like, yeah, not that interested. I'm just going to sit
Right.
on the
Because
couch. And they're
when I
like, you
think back
lazy
on that,
fucks. You
we
don't
were
want to do
so
anything. Like, yeah,
indoctrinated.
you're damn right.
We were
Yeah.
we were we were
Yeah.
lied
And I
to,
think
and we were
for
super
me,
indoctrinated.
yeah, I was shocked. Yeah, I was shocked at the degree to which I was indoctrinated. When I
Yeah.
took a look at the world around me that I had inherited, that I was supposed to take the reins of, I was like, yeah, no, there's just horror and terror. You
Hmm.
cannot get me to participate in this system. And, it's the same. And my disappointment was that the baby boomers originally had that too. They inherited a world of war, and they said, hell no, we won't go. And then they turned into what they did. They entered the
Yep.
system, and they eventually just sold out. And our generation started to as well, but we didn't lose our edge, I feel like.
Right.
Not the way they did. They
Hmm.
capitulated, became liberals, right? I think we capitulated to the degree we did, but we stayed a lot more marginal. And as a
Hmm.
result, I think we're way better allies to millennials and Gen Z. What do you
Yep.
think?
Yep. Because we birthed them. what
I think so.
they they are the result
I like
of
to
our
think of it
fight.
that way. I can't tell you how pleased I am with the next two generations, and that's another
Yeah.
thing you can tell too. If people bitch and moan about the new generations, know that they're part of the old,
Yep.
and know that they are the enemies of life,
Yep.
and that the future and history will see them horribly bad. Okay,
So
if
the
not even
millennials,
worse. I
and
mean, we might
they
dig them
are
out of
our
their graves
revenge.
and burn their ass. Huh?
They are Gen X's revenge. The millennials and
Oh
younger,
yeah, I
they're
love to
Gen
think.
X's revenge.
Absolutely. I'm so glad to see that the new generations have incorporated and taken for granted all the things that I fought for, that I thought I
Mhm.
was silenced. I didn't know anyone was listening because, my audience was was older people, and they weren't even sort of getting it. But to
Right.
see that younger people just take it for granted, I'm just like, I didn't know I didn't know this groundwork was gonna bear fruit. It's very shocking to me, I'll be honest.
Yep. I'm just tickled. I'm so, especially when I see how they react, and they don't do it. They're not doing it in a super disrespectful way, but they are
Nope.
basically saying, "Screw you guys. We are not going to accept this."
Yeah,
You know.
yeah, and
So
and I'm glad. And what's good about them is that you and I and the Gen X, we were born in the old world and had to transfer over.
mhm.
They were just born into our mentality. They
Yep.
are not going to sit there and debate somebody on the relative merits of
No,
war. They're just
they
like,
are
yeah,
not.
I don't give a shit about your war.
Right.
I don't give a shit about your homophobia, like your racism. I don't even get it. So, and that's what I like about the younger
Hmm.
generation. They're very lucky that way. They were born with the internet. You and I had to learn computers and the internet.
Yep.
They were born with it, and so they've always had access to everything. So from the time that their consciousness was developing, they listened to voices like yours and mine,
Hmm.
instead of what we were. Like you said, we were indoctrinated because we didn't have free flow to information. Ours was
Right.
only directed to us through proper channels, and that's what they're trying to save right now. They're
Hmm.
trying to save their stranglehold on information and ideas.
And I'm fighting right along with them. Like regardless of how it turns out, I'm still in the fight with them because um, none of us deserve to be continuously lied to. I am in the fight with them because the lies and the indoctrination is just not gonna fly. It's not gonna fly anymore. And like you said, you cannot put the toothpaste back into the tube. That's a done deal.
Yeah, the emperor wears no clothes, and everyone sees it, and that's what's so I mean, it is so embarrassing. These really are the last gasps of empire for
Hmm.
them to be posing this national security threat, which is no longer even in China.
Right.
They're a laughing stock. These people are putting their reputations on the line, saying, "Oh, this Democrat. He's supposed to be a
Hmm.
Democrat. This
Right.
is all part of the dark room back room politics. They're like,
Yep.
hey, look, we're
Exactly.
calling in our favor now.
Yep.
Otherwise we're going to show those pictures of you fucking the pig. No, right?
Did you wait a minute? Wait a minute. Did you see Black Mirror?
No, why?
Because that was the very first episode of Black Mirror.
Well, I haven't seen it, no, so I'll have to watch
It
it.
was
But
shocking. Yeah, we'll talk about that later. But yeah.
that's because do you remember David Cameron? They leaked photos of him fucking a pig from his secret society days at Cambridge, at Oxford rather.
David Cameron, the
They have
director.
no, David Cameron, the former prime minister of the United Kingdom. When
Okay.
the Tories came into power,
Yeah.
he was a long time clever, for a conservative. He was quite clever and well spoken, and he used to really take it to the liberal prime ministers, especially. Anyway, he did quite well on the national stage for a very long time as opposition leader.
Well, okay, I
Then when
remember
they came into
him.
power, he was prime minister for a very short time, and
Right.
then yeah, and
So
then
that's why he
they leaked some
confirmed.
photos of him from his secret society. That's no,
That was the
he did
first
because of
episode of Black Mirror.
a lot of different things that failed, the Brexit vote, things like that.
Right. Well, I remember all that. I remember actually
What?
watching Brexit in real time too. But that was the first episode of Black Mirror with a politician. It was like a political episode. Oh my goodness. Okay, so yeah, we'll talk
Yeah,
about that later. But yeah, that was the
David
first
Cameron
episode of
resigned.
Black Mirror.
Yeah, David Cameron resigned because in England and frankly the rest of the world, they still have some honor amongst their politicians, so
Right.
that when they promote a specific kind of policy and then it fails
Hmm.
disastrously, it's
Right.
expected that they, like captains in the Navy, they're supposed
Hmm.
to go down with the ship. That's their
Right.
duty.
Right. Right.
That
Right.
so he had some very public things that blew up in his face disastrously, and so he was expected to step down, and he did,
Mhm.
and um, uh, that's what American politicians no longer have the honor of doing. Again, in
Even
other
Boris.
countries, it's standard.
Yeah, even that Boris guy, he stepped down. Although he
Yeah,
was kind of voted out, but he stepped down. Yeah, he didn't
yeah.
contest it.
Well, I'm pretty sure Boris Johnson was put in there as a sacrificial lamb for the
Mm.
conservatives because he really is such a buffoon. He's so unpopular that I think it was a clever move on their part politically. Absolutely, put in this guy who couldn't possibly be any less popular. He couldn't be any less clowned by the public. I mean, this is a guy who was such a buffoon that people openly mocked him as it is. So it's kind of like it couldn't get any worse for him. And
Well, he
considering
reminded me of Monty
that their
Python,
constituency, yeah, absolutely, more like Benny Hill,
Benny
but
Hill.
yeah, no, he's an absolute buffoon, and so I think they put him out there to bear the brunt of that which they, you know, the backlash I'm talking about, where
Hmm.
they sowed the seeds of
Of
anti-immigration
Brexit.
and racism for so long, and they thought for sure that Brexit would never go through, and then it
Hmm.
went down, and they had egg on their face. It's like, oh, I created Frankenstein's monster, and now I'm surprised that the monsters come back to attack us.
I
You
was
know that
so
they
shocked. I was
and
watching all
so
that happen in real
yeah, so
time.
they were very shocked that it came back and bit them, the monster that they created. And so they now had to bear the brunt of what their own constituency wanted, which is what they
Hmm.
didn't want themselves. It's just
Right.
they put it out there hoping it would fail, and then it succeeded. It's like what the
Hmm.
Republicans do. It's like with abortion right now. They
Right.
accidentally succeeded, and now they're going to have to bear the brunt of it, and they're going to have to and same with this TikTok thing. I mean, I almost wish they do ban it
Yeah. Same here.
because it's going
Same
to
here.
blow up in their
Because
face,
it's gonna blow
it's going to
up.
get TikTok, free advertising.
Yep. It's gonna blow up in their face. It's already blowing up in their faces. They don't realize it. But yeah, let Biden sign that paper. Let Biden sign it and ban it. And they are going to get a reckoning that they did not realize. Yep. As soon as Biden signs
Yeah,
that ban.
gonna it's gonna fail catastrophically, and you're right. They're already getting the backlash, but if they want to hang themselves, give them more rope, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about pathological people is that they can't help but self-destruct, and the worse they get, the more catastrophic their collapse. And so that's kind of what we have to. That's why I was saying we just have to wait for the older generation to die. They don't look like they have enough emotional intelligence to have some self-awareness and self-reflection and self-correction. So let's hurry up. Let's hope they hurry up and die. Likewise with these politicians, they're not gonna serve the people. They're not gonna be pro-democracy and pro-life, pro-living things. So let's let them self-destruct catastrophically. And it's sad that they have to take the whole ecosystem down with them. But unfortunately, that's how evil and vicious and venal these people are. So fuck them. Unfortunately, so many of us have to go down with them.
City Scene Productions / media company and Seen and Heard podcast are peer supported. All support is greatly appreciated, whether it is equipment or financial. Every little bit helps. Every contribution, however big or small, powers our programming, staff and creators, and sustains our future. Any amount you are able to give to help support our journey and progress will be greatly appreciated. If you would like more info, please go to our contact page to leave a message and one of the members of our team will get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you. We'd like to hear from you. If you'd like to leave feedback, a comment or ask a question, leave us a voicemail at 615-447-8290.